Hi folks, welcome to week number 2 of Interpersonal Communications Online at HTC for summer of 2019. Hopefully you had a chance our first week to get settled into our course. Hopefully you all were able to complete the extra credit opportunities. I do have you do the scavenger hunt, and remembering those were due by Friday, June 7th, as a way to get you out and exploring our course site. So hopefully you've had a chance to poke around and now you understand where the discussions are, how to post a discussion, how to Dropbox if you uploaded your expectations in scavenger hunt. You had practice doing the uploading of a document. So again, this first week was really an opportunity to get you comfortable with the course, especially if you're brand new to online learning. It gives you an opportunity to poke around and get a little bit comfortable with the course. Week 1 activities were chapter 1 and 2 with some extra credit opportunities, and then 2 required activities were discussion posting number 1, and then 2 responses to your classmates, and then quiz 1 and 2. So moving on, we probably have a pretty strong base or foundation now, but moving on now into week number 2, which is this week, June 10th through June 16th, we will be reading chapters 3 and chapters 4. I really think you'll like chapters 3 and 4. Chapter 3 to me is one of the best chapters in the whole textbook. It really talks about how we perceive the world around us and how that perception of others and interactions and communications with others is so much filtered by our own sense of self. And so this idea of self-esteem and self-concept and how we then come to understand who we are, what our strengths are, what our weaknesses are, how we come to understand that through interactions with other people. And so key then as we start to look at interpersonal communications in kind of a holistic way, we really then start to understand how each of our interactions with other people, all of our interpersonal communication feeds back in a feedback loop to ourselves in what we believe about ourselves, how we value ourselves, how we evaluate ourselves. So for those of you, this is especially important for those of you who are parents. Your children, from the time they enter your home, they get a sense of self from how you treat them, how you interact with them, how you communicate with them, and we don't often think about that as how powerful it really is. Also, those that we are in very close relationships with, so those that we love, our romantic relationships, our very close friend relationships, all of that provides feedback into how we view ourselves. Same with at work. Every time your boss or your manager comments on your work or gives you feedback on your work, that's a constant, again, feedback loop in how you perceive yourself. So really important chapter to be aware of our perception and our blind spots that all of us have and the way that we stereotype others. And then that leads just beautifully into chapter 4, which is all about then once we have these experiences, how do we then describe those? How do we label those? How do we give words to those experiences? And by giving words to those experiences, then that allows us to engage in interpersonal communication. So 2 very, very important chapters, and 2 chapters then build a great foundation for completing our first written college paper, which is the perception interview paper. And I'll talk about that in just a little bit here, but just a reminder that this is a college level composition paper. So I do really want you to work hard on grammar and mechanics and spelling, because all of your writing, including your discussion postings and the 3 papers that you do for me, do need to be at that transferable college level writing ability. Remember, this is a transfer level course. So this course is the same that you would take at Minnesota State at Mankato or St. Cloud State or Metro or any of those other places. So your writing does need to be at that college level. And again, if you struggle, if writing isn't one of those things that is a real strength for you, please know that there is the Learning Resource Center, and there's one on either one of our campuses, our Eden Prairie campus and our Brooklyn Park campus, and they are more than happy to help you with grammar and mechanics and spelling and all of that good stuff. I do believe for the summer, though, they do have Monday through Thursday hours only. So this is a good one not to procrastinate on. Get started right away. And if you do need that extra writing help, get into the Writing Center or Resource Center either Monday through Thursday. We also have quiz 3 and 4 that are due by Sunday the 16th. Again, now that you've completed your first round of quizzes, hopefully you have a good idea, a good take on how the difficulty level and how the quizzes run. I always encourage my students, you get the first 2 quizzes completed, make sure that you are at least earning a B or higher on your quizzes. The quizzes are half of your grade for this course, so you do really want to be doing your best work. And I always tell students, if you didn't get a B on your first 2 quizzes, then you need to do something different. And I really want to encourage you to go back, and I have it linked on our course homepage, review my quiz taking suggestions. But honestly, folks, most often it's because students are not spending enough time in the reading and studying phase. I know it's very tempting to skim the textbook, keep the textbook out, keep your PowerPoint slides out, and jump in and try to take the quizzes. But truly, for most of my students, they do need a slower read of the chapter. They need to take notes on the chapter as they're reading. I'm a big fan of printing out the PowerPoint slides, and I would print them out like 6 slides to a sheet. To me, that's a lot of wasted paper if you put 1 slide per sheet. So what I would do is print out 6 slides per sheet of paper and then take notes on those PowerPoint slides. And then when you're completing your online quizzes, you have the slides and your notes in one place. So again, very often it's that students are not putting enough time into the reading, into the note taking, and then that's usually what makes the difference between an A and a B score and lower. So if you didn't do as well on your first 2 quizzes, that would be my number 1 suggestion, is to really expand the time that you are taking to prepare for those quizzes. Just a quick reminder too, that if you go over the quiz time, you do receive a 0. So make sure that you're watching the quiz clock. It counts you down, so you should be able to see clearly where you're at. And then don't forget about the online resources at the Cengage website. There's an audio book there, so you can have the textbook read to you. It's the exact same content on the website that is in your hard copy of your book, but there's a practice quizzes that you can take that also students tell me really help with their overall quiz scores. So that's what we are looking at for quiz number 2. Perception interview paper is due on Sunday the 16th, and then quiz 3 and 4 are due by the 16th. My hope is always to get your assignments graded within 7 days. So my hope is to have your discussion posting 1 and your extra credit graded by the 16th. So look for about a 7-day turnaround for those assignments. Also, just a quick reminder, in the way that our semester is set up is that all of your assignments, the exception was your extra credit that was due on Friday. All of your assignments are due on Sunday at 11:59. That doesn't mean that you can't work ahead. All of our assignments are open. All the quizzes are open. All the resources are available for your papers. All the discussion postings are open. So feel free to work ahead. Again, I know summer gets crazy with work and kids' activities and maybe vacations or time away. So feel free to work ahead as much as you like. Also, a quick reminder, I'm happy to review any of your assignments, your discussion postings, or your papers. You just need to make sure that you email me at least 3 days in advance. So if they're due on Sunday, I need them by Friday morning at the latest. And I'm happy to give you some feedback on them and take a peek and give you some, make sure that you're meeting all the grading criteria. I'm not going to do grammar checks or spelling checks, but I will tell you, hey, I'm seeing a lot of grammar errors or I'm seeing a lot of spelling errors. But I really do want to encourage you to use the Learning Resource Center for help with writing. So there you go. I'm going to switch our screen here and I'm going to go back to our D12 site. And again, this is what you should be seeing when you log in. It looks a little bit different because I'm in as a teacher, but all of our new course home reminders will open at 12 a.m. on Mondays. So this one will open, you'll see it's open June 10th at 12 a.m. for week number 2. And again, these are just reminders of what's due, what's coming up. I do have just some kind of optional, this is a really cool website. I do encourage you to check this one out. It's all about optical illusions, how our brain thinks we're seeing one thing when we're really seeing something else, and how we really trust our brain we think it's always giving us accurate information, when in fact we've programmed our brain to see patterns and to see things that we expect to see. And so it's fascinating how our brain is even though we think it's not programmed, it is programmed by us. Again, the reminder to study chapters 3 and 4, review my quiz taking suggestions. These actually came from students. I polled my students who got A's on their quizzes and said, hey, how are you preparing for each of these quizzes? And so these suggestions actually came from my students that were earning good grades. Here's those PowerPoint slides for chapter 3 and 4. They are under course materials, but they're also on the Cengage website. Here is our link. Folks, you should be using the Cengage website simply because it is such a great resource for you. It has all sorts of things, especially for now that you've taken the VARC inventory. If you are a visual learner, it's just such a great place to go. It really is lovely as far as online resources so here's, I'm kind of stumbling here, sorry, as I log in. We'll enter the course. Okay, you go away. Okay, so here you can kind of see each of the chapters are here. You can see which ones you've viewed, what you've looked at. So if we go to chapter 3, we see all of the different sections that you will also see in your textbook. It has concepts reviews, so you can say, okay, what is perception? You can switch it. Here's the definition. As you're kind of seeing from quiz 1 and 2, a lot of our quiz questions come from the concepts, so make sure that you're studying those. And you can just kind of keep cruising along. What's gender? Well, here's what gender is. You know, impression management, here's what that is. So there's just tons of really good, you can see all the flashcards here. You can go to the study board for chapter 3. When you click on that, it will bring up again all of your kind of study bits. And here's also where you can take the practice quiz as well, which is lovely. So if you click got it, and this is kind of just walking us through, here's flashcards, all of that good stuff. So do make sure that you are using all of the materials that are here. There's just such good chapters. So if we go back to IPC 3, again, we'll see all of the chapters that are there. If you click up here, it shows them that way, and this shows them in a tile, you know, so you can do it kind of whichever way that works for you. So lots here to check out and to use. Okay, so let's go back here to our course homepage. I just wanted to show you that. Again, hoping that everybody is making use of those online resources. Okay, so here's information on your first paper that is due on Sunday, June 16th. Where you always want to start is the directions and the grading rubric. So when you click on this, it takes you where it's posted, which is under course materials, assignment details. And you can also get there here too. it's nice to have a link off of the course homepage. Okay, so perception interviews. So for this assignment, you are going to create 3 separate lists, and these lists are going to come from 3 interviews. Your first list will be 10 words that you would describe how you perceive yourself. So just really quickly write down, you can write down roles, skills, physical attributes, personnel, anything you want. Just 10 quick words, and I would do it without thinking a whole lot. Just really quickly ask yourself, how would I describe myself? Your second list, I want you to ask somebody who's very close to you, a family member, a close friend, and the same directions. Ask them to give you 10 words that they would use to describe you. Don't show them your list, because if you show them your list, they're most likely going to mirror a lot of what you have. So don't show them your list. Just ask them to give you 10 words. Your third list is an acquaintance, and you notice I have this in caps because students get confused about this. An acquaintance, which we learned about in chapter 1, is somebody who does not know you well. And I know this can be somewhat awkward if you don't feel like you know somebody really well, to say, hey, can you give me 10 words? But it can be an instructor, could be a coworker that you don't do a coworker that you spend 8 hours a day with, because you obviously know them well by then. Could be a neighbor, could be the person at the coffee shop that you don't know well, but I want you to get this third list of 10 words that describe you from somebody who you do not know well. Fine to use mediated communication. Let's say you play online games, and you know somebody that you talk with online but you don't know really well. Perfectly fine to use mediated communication for this. So once you have your 3 lists, you need to type those out, include them in your paper. Then you're going to move on to step 2, which is to write 3 or 4 paragraphs that analyze the differences and the similarities between your lists. This is somewhat similar to what you did for your discussion posting 1, where you kind of compared the differences and the similarities between the 3 different models of communication. For this one, though, you're analyzing the differences and similarities between your 3 lists. So maybe you say, gosh, on my list I had funny. It's interesting, nobody else, my close friend or my neighbor, didn't have funny on their list. I wonder why that is. And so as you are doing this 3 to 4 paragraph analysis, you are making sure that you apply and cite concepts from the textbook. Again, very similar to your discussion postings, in where I ask you to pull in 3 or 4 text concepts. You're doing the same thing here. So you're not just popping in or citing those text concepts, you're explaining why that text concept relates to the difference or the similarity between your lists. Remembering to highlight your text concepts in some way. You can do the text concepts and definitions and page numbers in a different color. You can bold them, you can underline them, just some way that they are highlighted so that they jump out. So step 3 is to write 2 or 3 paragraphs that describe the noise. And remember, in your textbook it talks about physical, physiological, psychological, and semantic noise. Again, I want you to say, gosh, when I was doing my interview with my neighbor, we were standing outside, and my other neighbor was mowing their yard. So there was a lot of physical noise in our interview. I know that it was physical noise because physical noise is defined on page whatever as this, and this clearly met the definition for physical noise. So not just saying that the lawnmower was physical noise, but explaining how and why you know that that lawnmower that was present is physical noise. Again, making sure that you highlight the text concepts in a different color or font. You don't have to do all of the types of noise, just do the ones that were present in your interviews. Step 4 is the last step. You're going to write 2 or 3 paragraphs that describe and analyze the context. Again, remember that we read about context in chapter 1. There's physical context, cultural, social, emotional, and historical. And again, remembering that context is anything surrounding the communication event. And in this case, you're going to look at the context of your interviews. So what was happening? What's the cultural, the physical, the social, emotional historical context of your interview with your close friend, with your neighbor. So again, you don't have to use all of these concepts, but do the ones that are related to your interviews. So those are the 4 steps. How I'm going to grade this paper, it's worth 30 points. You do need to have your 3 lists and have them labeled my list, close friends list, and neighbors list, and you need to cite and apply at least 5 to 6 concepts, making sure that you include definitions and page numbers, and then that you clearly demonstrate that you understand and the ability to apply. And that ability to apply is explaining how and why these 5 or 6 concepts relate to the context and the noise and the differences and the similarities between your list. For an A paper, which is 27 to 30 points, you do need to make sure that you meet all of these grading requirements, and you do need to make sure that you don't have any writing errors. So no grammar errors, no mechanical errors, no spelling errors, and making sure that you are following college level composition. So there you go. That's that assignment. I'm just going to go back here quick. Well, let's see, let's hang on, I'm going to have to wiggle around here a little bit because I have to go back to our course homepage. Hang with me. We're going to go back to this one so we can see it. So we just looked at this, at the assignment directions and the grading rubric. Other resources for your perception paper include a checklist. So once you get your paper all done, do go through the checklist and make sure that you have everything that's required. I do have just a partial sample, so you can just, to get you started, kind of to see how this paper might be formatted. This is only to be used as a sample. Please don't use any words from the sample in your own paper. Your own paper, of course, should be your own words, but I know a lot of times it's super helpful for students to kind of see how the paper might be laid out. So there's a sample section, and then here is the drop box. So it's linked here, but also remember that it's under assessments. And if you click on assessments, it also is underneath assignments as well. So there you go, folks. We are all set. I'm just going to bop back quick here to our schedule. That's a reminder of what's coming up for week number 2. And once again, just a quick reminder, if you have any questions or you are confused about something or you just need some more information, please reach out. I am more than happy to help you and to give you feedback. Okay, oopsie, we're losing our screen here. Hang on. All right, that is it from here, folks. Have a wonderful second week, and please let me know if I can help in any way.